Coming up on AEA Amplified, Chris Owens and Sean Wilkie of Qmulus Aviation in Caldwell, Idaho.
From the Aircraft Electronics Association, this is AEA Amplified, a podcast for aviation's technology experts, with your host, Jeff Hill.
Hello and welcome to AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a mode company and a leading provider of integrated avionics systems for military and civil operators around the world. From rugged integrated flight displays to digital flight control systems for rotor and fixed-wing aircraft, Genesis has solutions to increase safety and decrease pilot workload. To learn more about how Genesis can help your customers, visit genesis-aerosystems.com. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Jeff Hill, for this February 2021 edition of AEA Amplified. And our guests today are Chris Owens, and he's the accountable manager with Qmulus Aviation, along with the repair station's owner, Mr. Sean Wilkie. So Chris and Sean, it's great to have you with us, and thanks so much for joining us. Sean, I'd like to maybe start with you and ask you, as the owner and the founder of the repair station there, tell us what motivated you to get into the repair station industry and open up a shop in Southwest Idaho.
Hi, Jeff. First of all, I'd like to pass on my appreciation for having the opportunity to be on your really good podcast, as well as how grateful and excited we are to have such a good article that you guys put in that February issue, documenting the creation of our 145 repair station here in Caldwell, Idaho. Hope that it maybe give some guidance or might answer some questions for anyone else who might be looking to do something similar. The AEA is a great source for a lot of people and pilots, students, to someone like us who wants to start their own repair station. There are a lot of programs we found that are from the AEA and a lot of information provided by the AEA that's a true asset to anyone interested in avionics, and that's been a huge help to us. But what got me wanting to start a repair station, guess I'd have to probably trace that back to a lifetime love for everything aviation related. When I was about 5, I went to an air show and was obsessed, kind of for lack of a better word, with aviation from then on. I couldn't kick the bug. And so from there out, all I ever wanted to do really was be a pilot. But when I was a senior in high school, 9/11 happened, so that took the commercial pilot demand and pretty much eliminated that. And so it changed my plans from going to either a normal flight training program or to the military, and kind of put them on hold for a while. And so after that, though, I always kept hope out for flying of some sort and wanted to someday, but had to start working in the real world. And then in 2007, I finally decided it was time to go get my pilot's license. And so I got that in 2008 and was lucky enough to have found a good flight instructor who was also an A&P here in Caldwell named Darren Hunt. And he really started opening my eyes to aircraft maintenance and to always making sure things were done perfectly, since lives were on the line. And as I flew more, I decided to get my own plane. So I got a Cessna 172 about 5 years ago. During that search, though, Darren taught me a lot about what to look for when looking to acquire an aircraft, looking at the history and the logbooks and physically inspecting them. And the more of the different logbooks I saw on the aircraft I looked at, the more I realized how important proper aircraft maintenance and records were, not only for safety, but for resale. But unfortunately, I ran into a lot of roadblocks, and I was just trying to purchase an aircraft due to poor maintenance or records keeping. And that always kind of stayed in the back of my mind, left a little bit of a sour taste as to how guys do things sometimes. So after I finally found the right 172, it wasn't long before I wanted to start upgrading the avionics in it. And I looked at a number of other people's avionics installations along the way just to see what they looked like. And and what their thoughts were on them. And some of them were definitely less than par. And so I learned a lot by looking at those and realized how important it was to choose a reputable shop that knew what they were doing. And so I did a lot of searching to find a shop, and we do have a few shops around that have a good reputation. But when I called to schedule or do anything, they were typically a minimum of 6 months out, but more likely a year before they could even get me in to start seriously looking at what to do on these avionics. And then the ADS-B mandate just added to that. So there's just become a huge backlog, at least in our area, and from what I've heard, a lot of other areas, for good shops like this. And so I thought, man, why doesn't somebody else, do an avionics shop? And I kept thinking that and thinking that. And then after several years of asking myself, why doesn't somebody else do that? I was talking to my flight instructor to get some ideas and different things on, what is a repair station and what's it take and what's that entail. And I finally decided, you know what? Why don't I try it? I might as well. I've talked to enough people in the vans there. And so the first thing I decided was I knew from other businesses that I've started and ran that probably the most important thing to start with are the people. So the first person I got, her name was Ivy Hunt, and she was critical to starting the process. And so we started with research and looking into different things and what we needed to do, and realized what a daunting task the manuals would be, uh, and just didn't even know really where to start. We'd go down one avenue and realize that we just were way in over our head. And during this process, we were also looking to hire somebody to do the day-to-day and help manage and build the manuals. And we interviewed a lot of different candidates, well-qualified candidates, guys with great backgrounds. And then somehow, after an extensive search, Ivy came up with Chris's number and called him. And we thought, well, it's a long shot, but let's just run it by him and see what he thinks. And then from the second we talked to Chris, we realized that he was the guy that would be critical to us getting it. Just incredible amount of knowledge and great reputation. So we were able to talk Chris into coming up and meeting with us and going over what our ideas were. And when he arrived, he had done some market research to see what his thoughts were on it, and said he loved the potential and the challenge, and he was ready to start the process with us, which for us was a godsend, because I don't know what we would have done. We definitely wouldn't be open today if it wasn't for Chris. He is really an incredible asset. So we got together with the FAA and to explore the feasibility of it, and that was very promising. And so we decided to start moving forward with that, and Chris went to work building the manuals from scratch for basically something that didn't exist yet. And then into last year, we finally got our Part 145 certificate, and now we have 12 amazing people on our team that I really feel are the pinnacle. I've always felt that in business, I want to do things the best of the best, offer the best customer service, the best products, and treat customers like I would want to be treated. I would rather go out of business because I spent too much money trying to be the best than I would because I got a bad reputation by trying to be cheap. And the amount of interest and customers that we've been seeing has been incredible, and have no intentions of slowing down anytime soon. We're super excited about the future of Qmulus Aviation.
Yeah, that's an amazing story there on background, an aircraft owner and a pilot yourself, and seeing that there was a need within the market and going out and taking advantage of that and capitalizing on it and starting up your own repair station, which I know we have a lot of listeners today that are probably maybe wondering how they can go about and doing it to start it. And so you guys are going to be able to give them some great insight. And like as you mentioned, you found Chris Owens to help you get this business started. And Chris, you have 20 years or more of experience in aviation as an avionics technician and an A&P mechanic with inspection authorization. But you also have quite a bit of experience serving in the Marine Corps and working for the regional airlines, some aircraft manufacturers, and even some government contract work. So tell us a little about your aviation career and how you got into the business. I know you're originally from Florida, and here you are now working in Idaho. So tell us your story.
Yeah. So I got out of the Marine Corps in 2000, and this is a funny story how I got into it. I was going to go into like the computer science field. But my brother, Raynell, graduated high school the same year I was getting out. And he had a pamphlet for Spartan School of Aeronautics in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I went back into the military to finish up what I had to do. And we were supposed to go to A&P school together in Oklahoma. So I go directly there. I didn't go back home to Florida. I go directly there. My brother's supposed to meet me there. And turns out that he was in love and we wanted to stay in Florida and didn't want to come to Oklahoma. So I was stuck in Oklahoma by myself. So I finally decided to I'd stay and go through the course, and it was the best thing I did. So I got my A first in 2001, and I got my P in 2002. And I immediately, even though September 11th happened and everything like that, I was immediately able to get a job for a regional airline. I worked for that regional airline for a few years. Then I went to go to Bombardier. Then from Bombardier, I started working for the government in various different programs. I worked for Northrop Grumman, King Aerospace, Sierra Nevada Corporation. And the main thing when I went to Sierra Nevada Corporation, I started working on this program called non-standard aviation programs. And those are aircraft that have civilian, aircraft that are for the military. And that's kind of like how I got tiptoed into like regulatory and writing, because we had to make our manuals and everything like that to kind of have a blend of government requirements and FAA requirements. So, but it's a monster of its own. From there, I left and I went to work for Surf Air, and then I went to go work for Boutique Air. And then from Boutique Air, I was actually on my way to go to the DC area to work for another government contractor, and possibly also a situation with the FAA. And I met Sean and Ivy, and like Sean said, it was a blank canvas, and nothing existed. We didn't have a hangar, we didn't have a staff. It was just me, Sean, and Ivy. And so from there, once I realized what was going on, and I like he said, I did my research. I went into a couple of different, went on FlightAware, checked flights and everything like that, and looked at some of the different opportunities that was here. And the one thing I saw so many planes coming in and planes leaving. So, I said, so with the volume of planes coming in and the planes leaving, there should be opportunities to, capture some of that. So from there, had a conversation with Sean. I said, let's do this. And I started to write the manuals, and I did it with like, I'm kind of stubborn. And what I mean by that is that I didn't want to look at anybody else's manuals. I didn't want to look at anybody else, how they did anything. I wanted to write everything from scratch, and it come from a genuine place, and without influence. And that's what I did. So the hardest part was just reading through the 145, reading through all the various resources, and then understanding what to start. Okay. So I started simple. I started with my revisions and everything like that, my revision page. And then I would do, every day I would do something, and I would just put my thoughts down. I would read the regulation. I would put my thoughts down. That's why the manual is so big, because I put my thoughts down and then I put in a bunch of different situations. And then once I went through each section of the repair station manual requirements, then I started going back and just tightening up everything and making it more of a situation of realistic and what can I do. And one of the things that I noticed from previous experience, whenever you write manuals, especially when you have a changeover, most people want to kind of deviate to what they were comfortable with, and versus going through the revision process and making those changes through the revision, so you don't do two things versus one thing. And so I wanted to make the manual an easy read, and also I wanted to make the manual a situation where it's not it's something that somebody can read and understand that maybe don't have an aviation background. That was very, very important to me. So that's kind of why the manuals took a little bit longer than I anticipated. And but I also was able to get it shrunk down to the 98 pages, and we did everything. We made our own documentation for maintenance. Our tags, everything is all made from scratch. Didn't copy anybody, just taking all the information, interpreted, and putting it out there. Now, the one thing that I always say is that when I went to the AA, when we finally became an AA member, I went to that website. I was upset about that that trainer manual little worksheet that's on that website, because I like, man, this could have saved me a lot of time. Because the trainer manual was one that I had a hard time with, because I think I was trying to make it more than what it really needed to be, but it was a good challenge, and it was fun, and I'm not done yet.
Yeah, and one of the things I think that maybe helped you have that knowledge to put the manuals in place for a startup company is that you had, I believe, back in 2017, attended the AEA Certified Repair Station Training Course, which is a week-long course, and it's taught by Rick Perry, who is the AEA's Vice President of Government and Industry Affairs. Talk a little bit about your experience at that course, and how it helped you start your business.
Yeah, definitely. So just a little bit of background, what made me go to the course is I was I was setting up a lot of different maintenance control and planning, a lot of SOC type stuff for fleet operators, and Boutique Air kind of wanted me to transition to become the director of maintenance. So at that time, I wanted to go ahead and like, okay, what is out there to kind of give me, understanding, because, I understand regs, I understand a lot of different things, but sometimes you need a different outside look to either validate what you're thinking and make sure you're on the right track. So I took the 145 repair station course, and when I went to the course, Rick Perry did a very good job of articulating everything just about the process. So even though it was many years later that a few years later that I started the first 145, it did open the door for me just understanding resources and where to go, and understanding your situation versus assuming. And then writing towards that effect. So when I went back to the airline I was working for, it gave me a lot of tools just to kind of know where to go for information. That was the main thing, understanding my resources and know where to go for information through the regs and everything like that, and understanding the many different interpretations of the reg for the situation that you're in. That was very that when he said that, and that clicked in my head, from there I just ran with it.
Yeah, and that certified repair station training course will actually take place again later this year, August 9th through the 13th of 2021. And that will take place at the AEA headquarters just outside of Kansas City, Missouri, in Lee Summit, Missouri. So if you are interested in taking the class, for those of you who are listening out there and maybe starting a repair station, this is a great way to get started and to learn the business from the ground up. But you can learn more and register at aea.net/certified www.aviation.com/training. And once again, we are visiting with Chris Owens and Sean Wilkie of Qmulus Aviation in Caldwell, Idaho, here on AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a mode company. So Chris and Sean, tell us a little bit about your shop, how many employees you have now, and the type of services you perform for your customers, and maybe the type of aircraft that's your target market right now.
Sure, yeah, like I mentioned previously, we have 12 great people, and kind of started out focusing on single engine piston, as that's primarily the local market. But Chris has grown this and expanded us into so many things that I never would have thought of because of his think outside of the box mentality and his research. He probably can really delve into that for you.
Yeah, so definitely just to give you a little bit of a background, we started out with one idea, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we quickly had to recognize and understand the situation, and reassess and make sure that when we are certificated, we can be agile enough and be in a situation where we can take advantage of a lot of different things. So one of the things we decided to do was really concentrate on single engine aircraft, especially Cessna products, and provide a service and a platform for those aircraft to be looked at in the area. There's a lot of business aviation in the area, so there's a little bit of let's just say a little bit of neglect towards those aircraft, where we found a kind of like an initial niche to get our feet on the ground and just understand the customer of the area. And by doing that, we released a Cessna, a Qmulus Aviation Cessna maintenance program, where we also do the annuals and everything like that, but provide a service and provide a platform for those aircraft to have a level of maintenance that is a little bit carefree, where that type of stuff is mostly suited for most business aircraft and everything like that. So with that aircraft and with that program, that has also seeded other inquiries of other different type programs, and also allowed us to get our foot into a little bit of the business aviation. So we plan on in the next few weeks releasing a similar program for King Airs up to 200 and other different platforms like Pipers and then twin engine aircraft. We have a little bit of logistics to work out, because all those aircraft takes manpower and everything like that. So we're working out some of the logistics of how to bring on staff and get them functional in a time frame that allows us to take advantage of these different opportunities.
And that segues into my next question. It sounds like you already have a growth plan in mind a little bit, starting off with single engine pistons, but growing into King Airs and business aircraft. But how do you all envision your shop maybe growing over the next, say, 3 to 5 years? And will you be working on more diverse aircraft types and hiring more technicians during that period?
Great question, because like what Sean didn't tell you, that is when he hired me, I accept all challenging, I accept all things. I'm kind of let's just say not crazy, but I'm not afraid of anything when it comes to the aircraft maintenance side of the house. And we have, and one of the things that the reason some of the business area and some of the things aviation in our region isn't as fulfilling as it could be is because of the technicians. And one of the things that we plan on doing is developing a process to develop apprenticeship and everything like that to allow and get training in here so that we can expand the models. Now, if you let me tell it, I think that we'll have our own airline in 5 years. So, that is the goal, and that's some of the stuff I'm setting, and we're going to do it all ourselves. So, that is a bold statement, and that is something that I think that we can do. But at first, the maintenance is the baseline of anything in any business that we build off of this, and we definitely plan on providing many platforms of aircraft that we want to maintain. But general aviation will, after going through this process, the general aviation aspect of it will never be neglected by Qmulus Aviation.
Well, you guys are off to a great start. That's a wonderful vision to have, and to kind of put it in perspective too. And Chris, you touched on it for a little bit, but I believe it was late in the year 2019 through the summer and fall where you were spending those 5 months working on all of those manuals and putting things together, and then you finally did get your repair station certificate from the FAA, I believe in September of 2020, not too long ago. But that was actually that window where the pandemic hit and COVID-19. So you did all of this work, started up this business in the middle of a pandemic. So my question that I'm going to ask may be a little bit more challenging because
Sure.
it's a new business and a startup. But what operational adjustments, if any, did you have to make last year with the pandemic, and how did it impact your business?
Okay, well, when the pandemic happened, just like everybody else, there's no data. There's no data how everything is going to fall out and fall in place and anything like that. So I kind of just had to go old school, talking to people, figuring out what they're going through, figure out what some of the other business are going through. And the great thing about it is that I happen to know a lot of people in the industry. So because I know a lot of people in the industry, a lot of people feel, very comfortable talking to me and being frank with me about some of the situations they're going through. And then from that information, I'm able to take and make adjustments. So in our initial business model, the only thing we really planned on doing is just being a simple avionics shop. We weren't going to plan on doing any kind of maintenance. Okay. And so we made the adjustments to start doing maintenance and doing annuals and doing all those type things, which turned out to be really, really good because that brought in the customer, and we started interacting with the customer more and just figuring out what their avionic needs are along with their maintenance needs are, and coming up with situations that we can keep them coming back. And what we found out is that when they come into our shop, we provide, I'm from the South, so we provide a Southern hospitality type atmosphere, and they enjoyed that, and by coming in, we're able to sell them avionics when they might have not wanted avionics, and giving them a fair price, and not necessarily, trying to nickel and dime them, and we're very upfront, we're very transparent. We have a 2-quote policy. You get the initial quote, and then anything that we find non-routines within a certain amount of time frame, and we provide that level of transparency. And then we have customers that just want to come in and hang out and have conversation and talk aviation. So and if anybody knows me, if you want to walk in that door and you want to ruin my day, let's talk airplanes. And because we would definitely sit there and talk about airplanes. That's one of the greatest ways to ruin my day. So so going back to the business aspect of it, it was just really trying to get a tune into understanding where the people are in the area, and then what we can provide them that is conducive enough for them to, one, fly their airplane, because one of the things we want to push is we want you to fly the aircraft 100 hours a year. Don't let that aircraft sit on the ground and not fly that aircraft. But a lot of the hesitation is how expensive it would be for the maintenance. So by providing them a cost-effective maintenance program, by also providing them an opportunity to get upgrades through that maintenance program at a good install rate and everything like that, a lot of people have taken to that.
And for aircraft owners and pilots, what is the best way that they can contact you in your shop?
Yes, so we have the website cumulusaviation.com. We also have Facebook at cumulusaviation.com. We also at 521 Dishman Place, Caldwell, Idaho, 83605. And our hangar phone is area code 208-459-2360.
And something worth noting is Cumulus is definitely a play on words as far as how that's spelled. It's not spelled like the cloud,
Yeah.
it's spelled Qmulus if you're going to the website.
Well, Chris and Sean, thank you so much for your time. I hope we can catch up maybe in person later this year at the AEA convention. But is there anything that the two of you would like to add, or maybe that we missed?
Yeah, Qmulus Aviation is we just got a certificate. We got a great start. We have a lot of bold and ambitious plans in the future, and we love to hear from our customer base. You can contact us anytime on our social media platform or our website, or call in or walk in the shop. One of the great things is that we are in the process of becoming a Garmin dealer. We should have that done today. We have pretty much all the avionics of Aspen, Avidyne, Dynon. So we're a one-stop shop, and we got more to come. Going to be hopefully doing some engine work by end of next year, and some airframe work by end of next year also. So got a lot of great plans.
It's been an incredible journey so far, and I think the sky's going to be the limit for us. And just wanted to thank you guys again for having us on, and all the things that AEA provides. It truly is an asset for anyone associated with avionics or aviation.
Well, and congratulations to both you, Sean and Chris, for putting together a great team and opening up a new business, a repair station, and we certainly welcome you all to the avionics industry. So thanks so much for joining us again today. That is Chris Owens and Sean Wilkie here on AEA Amplified. To learn more about Qmulus Aviation, as they mentioned, you can visit them on the website, and that is cumulusaviation.com. And as they said there, it starts with a Q, a play on words there. Qmulusaviation.com. You can also read more about the repair station that was featured in the February 2021 edition of Avionics News magazine, and you can check out that member profile written by Christine Knauer at avionicsnews.net, or you can download the Avionics News app that are available for both iOS and Android devices. And before we go, let me remind our listeners and some AEA members about some important items. First of all, the dates for the 64th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show have been moved. That event will now take place June 22nd through the 25th at the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, Texas. If you'd like to attend and have not registered yet, you can take advantage of the early bird registration through March 31st, which will save you $180 per person off your registration. You can learn more at aea.net/convention. Also, the Avionics News Technical Training Exam is now available for avionics technicians, and that exam may be taken online by AEA members, or it can be downloaded by non-members. And by completing that exam, technicians get a head start on their FAA-accepted training. And if you score 85% or higher, you will receive credit toward your repair station training program requirements. So if you are up to the test, visit avionicsnews.net. And finally, if you are interested in pursuing professional opportunities in the avionics industry, the job listings page on the AEA website is your one-stop resource. Search the AEA's job listings and see what's on your horizon. Free resume posting is also available. That's the jobs board at aea.net/jobs. And that's going to wrap it up for today, and we hope you can join us again soon for another episode of AEA Amplified, sponsored by Genesis Aerosystems, a mode company. To learn more about Genesis and its full range of products, visit genesis-aerosystems.com. Until next time on AEA Amplified, so long everybody, and be safe.